I am pleased to once again invite my star right now. It's true. Yes, Cern Basher, he's taken over for Larry Goldberg, who gets the most views on a regular basis. But last week, it turned out Nicholas Gibbs, I think, blew them all away. And now, for at least a week, you're the star. What do you think, Nick?
I, I guess you're only as what's the old saying?
Yeah,
What have you done for me lately? So
right,
I'm
right,
only as good
right.
as what I've done for you lately.
We'll see how you do tonight. Listen, we are almost to
Hey,
20.
everybody! All right, everybody, come on! I don't want to hit the like button, subscribe, like make my numbers good.
That's
You
right.
can forget everyone else. Make my numbers look good. Come on.
That's right. So they need to stay to the bitter end. That's how they help
Yeah.
the most. All right.
I don't want Randy to fire me or put me on a pip.
So, so we're going to talk about 2026 tonight because, it's that time of year and we need to prognosticate on the happenings of what I think is going to be an amazing year. We talked about it a little bit last week, but more tonight. We'll start with Tesla stock. We will end with the economy in general. And in the middle, we'll talk about a funny situation with Tesla and Nvidia. I think you'll really like it. I think you'll really find, I think everybody will find it amusing, but I think Nick will find it especially amusing.
Man, oh, you got me sucked in. I have no idea what you're going to talk about, but like that cliffhanger got me in. So, all
Okay.
right, I guess I'll stick to the end.
All right, let's start off with this. Brian Wang says that we will get up to 1,500 in 2026. I know he's got some caveats in there that have to do with Robotaxi and Optimus and how far we get along. But 1,500 is too rich for my blood. I'm staying at 1,000, and that definitely includes Optimus being offered to third parties. I don't think we get to 1,000 without that. Dan Ives says 3 trillion, and then he says $800 a share, but 3 trillion is actually $900 a share. So I'm not exactly sure where Dan is right now. And many others are over 600 now, or 600 or more. So where are you?
I think you're all wrong. I think if we end the year at like 600, 650, I think that's a great year.
It would be a great year. There's no doubt about that. But
Yeah.
if we have 500,000 uh, uh, cars on the road, robotaxis on the road, if we have lots and lots of cyber cabs among those, so we've tested those and we can see they're working well, and the rollout on the semi truck is good, and we have unsupervised self-driving, and then if we start deploying Optimus to third parties, you don't think we'll get above 600?
I don't think all those things will happen.
Oh, I
So
see. Okay, well, there you go. So let's talk about what you think will and won't happen since we're talking about 2026.
I think everything's gonna be just kind of a slow drip, you know. I think you're gonna see hopefully more robo taxis, or excuse me, more robo taxi vehicles in service. So Model Ys or threes, whatever Tesla decides to use. I think you will probably like late spring, early summer actually start to see cyber cabs out there. Probably first in Austin, California. I think you'll slowly see more and more cities pop up. Um, and I think it'll just be a slow build. I don't think it's going. I don't think we're going to see like 500,000 vehicles out there. I don't think that's going to happen in 2026. I think 2026 is more about that the first step, like crawl, walk, run. I think 2026 is all about going from crawling to walking to jogging. And I think if we're going to run, that won't be till 2027.
Okay. So what about Optimus?
I think it'll just be another year of development.
With
So,
nothing, none of them working in the factory?
I mean, prototypes maybe, but nothing that I would say is going to be meaningful. Like
Oh,
nothing that would be other than nothing that's going to be replacing people in a meaningful way by any means. Nothing that you're going to be like, oh my god, it's here, it's happening, here we go. I think if anything, they're going to spend the time developing V3, testing V3. Maybe they decide that there's a V4 little change they want to make. working on the line, getting them up, getting them running, figuring out just all little things that it takes to figure out. I mean, just look at Cybercab, right? And that's a vehicle, and look how much tweaking and stuff they have to do with that. And that's a vehicle. They know vehicles really well. They've done a few of them. So Optimus has its own challenges, its own constraints that they have to deal with, figure out. And the training on Optimus is going to be vast, right? It's a lot. Training is a lot harder on Optimus than it is on for vehicles and robotaxi. Is my opinion. Now, it's for it to be immediately useful in a way that they could put in the factory, sure, the bar for that is lower, but it doesn't seem like Tesla's going for the quick dopamine hit when it comes to that, because I think they would have done that already if that was the case. It seems like they're trying to get to a level where they, hey, buddy, it seems like they're trying to get to a level where they have a high degree of confidence in what the build is for the hardware, high degree of confidence in the manufacturing line, and then more than just a pick and place ability with Optimus. It seems like they're trying to make it way more utilitarian than just, hey, can we just put something out there to say we put something out there and look, it's doing tasks, which is what I think others are doing right now. So that's my take. And I think I do think it's probably the right approach what they're doing. In general, I think Tesla tends to take the right approach, and it tends to not align with what we want as investors. Is kind of what I've come to learn, and I'm trying to iterate with my own timelines, my own projections, my own hopium. So yeah, so that's where I'm at, Randy.
All right, so we've got unsupervised, and Elon says that'll be the biggest catalyst is when unsupervised is launched. Unsupervised will sell more cars, I believe. Unsupervised will cause more people to upload their FSD, and it will cause more people to buy the car with FSD in mind. Are you looking at a substantial increase? Elon said he thinks he'll sell 3 million or build 3 million cars this year. I think about a couple 100,000 of those will be cybercabs. But do you think that unsupervised will allow us to get that kind of an increase?
Well, why don't you tell me what you think's going to happen with unsupervised, and I'll tell you what I think.
Well, I think unsupervised I'm just going off. I always go off of what Elon says. That doesn't mean that I don't acknowledge that he's often late. He's often more optimistic than I am even. But what I heard him say was unsupervised will be released regionally, and then more regions, and then more. So at some point, depending on how the rollout goes, I would expect, it's going to be in a substantial part of the U.S., if not the whole USA, and then maybe in Europe and China too, depending on regulations.
Yeah, so I think unsupervised for us, if it comes next year, it'll be at the end of the year, is what I think. And if it comes to us at the end of the next year, it'll only be in cities that already have a good deployment of robotaxis. That's my take. And it's not just because of the safety aspect of it, and that is part of it, but I also think it's because I imagine they only want to offer that in areas where they have the infrastructure for support and help if something were to happen. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they have a whole different line of thinking of what they're doing. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how they plan on towing that line between, hey, Randy, you can go unsupervised, but you have to stay behind the wheel and you can't go to sleep in case you go to sleep and you accidentally move and you step on the brake. You're like, then what?
Right.
Like, what do you do then? Especially since it's not like it's an electronic brake. It's not steer by wire or anything like that either. So what happens if you accidentally move and hit the steering wheel, take it out of FSD and you're sleeping? You know what I mean? So I don't know how they deal with that. Or if they say, hey, you can't sit behind the steering wheel, you have to sit in the passenger seat. Okay, well, in that case, then I would think you want the same infrastructure to support you as you would have for robotaxis. And if you're going to do that, well, then you probably only want to offer this in cities that have robotaxis. And then at the same time, if you're doing that, well, do you really want to suck away resources from a revenue generating operation, which is robotaxis, to deal with everyone else? Well, probably not. So you probably lag that. So I don't know. It just seems like there's going to be this like line that you have to be very careful on how you tow it. And I think it's probably going to be pushed to the back burner, much like hardware 3 and all that. It's like we'll get to that, but it's not our priority right now. I think giving all of us unsupervised FSD, I really don't think that's a priority for them. I think what's a priority for them right now is getting robo taxis in many cities as they can. So I don't know. It's just like I think you can only prioritize so much and do it well. And especially when it comes to the safety risk factor of it, why even take that risk right now? Like, you have enough risk you're putting out there with the robo taxis, get that right. But I also think if you get that right, really right in a city, that gives you confidence to allow people in that city to have unsupervised FSD because you have just more data, more confidence of it, rather than some other city where you don't even have robo taxis out there. So I kind of think it's a stepping stone. I think it has to go robo taxis within that city, and then only if you're in that geo. So
Mhm.
maybe if I drove into Austin, now my vehicle would
Mhm.
know. Maybe that would be a case, but I don't know. I'm speculating, obviously, but
Sure, sure, sure.
I just don't think it's top priority for them outside of cities that already have robotaxis deployed.
Okay. All right.
But
Let's
what do you think
listen.
of that? But what do
Uh,
you think about that? Like, do
oh,
you
I again, I
push back
try.
on me?
No, I just
Help me get better.
okay. I try to always go off of Elon's statements. Okay. Again, acknowledging he's going to be wrong or he's going to be late, but his statement was we will have unsupervised by the end of this year. And I'm looking at the cars now. I'm not be able to drive, a car with all the goodies and stuff, but the people that I'm talking to that are driving the cars right now, they're amazing. And even my car with hardware 3, I mean, I don't drive anymore. I never take over. I mean, pretty funny. Everybody's been talking about problems with the maps on 14.2. And tonight, my car was coming back on a trip that we take, it's the last mile before we get home, and it turned at the wrong place. And I'm like, what? How could that even be? It's never ever turned in that spot before. So a map problem. But so my general feeling is it seems like we're getting extremely close to having something that is pretty much unbreakable, that pretty much could be deployed anywhere, anytime. They're pushing, pushing, pushing Europe for passing the regulations. They're pushing China to pass the regulations. There seems to be like this full court press to get every place lined up for the release. And again, maybe your point is right. Maybe it takes months, months, and months, months longer than they're expecting. And then for me today, the what do you want to call it? The cherry on the top. I was watching all these videos with people with Grok with the new integration. I mean, holy mackerel, that's such a great addition to the car.
It it is. I just wish they would have done some. I wish they would have done some things that are a little better. Um, like for instance, when I tell it to navigate to a certain place, Grok stays up instead of going away.
Oh,
So then my music doesn't play, my
oh,
podcast, when I'm
interesting,
listening to Randy Kirk, it doesn't continue playing because Grok is still up. Little things
interesting.
like that. Obviously, they're getting better at it, right? And they're iterating on
Sure,
it.
sure, sure.
But but it's getting there, but it's I'm just surprised that they didn't.
Have that answer. Yeah, yeah.
Well, no, not even that. That was not the thing that I necessarily needed Grok to do.
Oh,
It's like I wanted to be able to tell Grok to do all the other things in the car. Like, hey Grok, play this song on Spotify, or hey Grok, um, like I don't know, put something on my calendar, or hey Grok, just all the stuff within the car
uh-huh.
that you would want to say,
Yeah,
like navigation. That's one of the things that the built-in navig, you know, what do you voice activation system, like it actually did that decently.
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of the few things it did decently. It's like all the other stuff that I wish it would have done. But it is fun. And I'll tell you what, this Christmas release is a lot of fun too. Just yeah, every year they put it out, and it's just fun to see everything. The Santa sleigh, the candy cane, stop signs, and the elves everywhere. It's fun. But I do like it. I do like that they're integrating Grok into it.
All right, let's talk about the Tesla NVIDIA situation. I think that you'll be very interested in this because I did look on your X profile today, and I'm pretty sure that you're somebody who does invest in NVIDIA and likes NVIDIA as a product. Um, I asked Grok because it occurred to me. I was watching, what I do is I watch all this stuff, and my mind starts to go, oh, there's a trend. Oh, there's a trend. And one of the trends that I hadn't picked up until today, although I've talked about it in the past, is the NVIDIA Tesla matchup. And asked Rock, and there's been 3 studies done about the fact that many retail customers, well, it's the number 1 and number 2 of retail owned stocks is Tesla and NVIDIA. Number 2, the studies have shown that a lot of people own both. A lot of retail clients own both, and that they do trade in and out of them based on momentum. And so what I was seeing was like Nvidia down the last week and a half and Tesla up. And then today, Tesla down a little bit and Nvidia up. So that's why I started asking the question. And absolutely, that is what the studies have shown is there's this trading back and forth.
So is your question asking me if they jockey essentially,
Well, so
or if
I'm asking
one
you
has
what
one by the
I'm,
other?
yeah, I'm just asking what you think about the studies, what you think about what, there would be use cases again, momentum trading, based on one of them being down, one of them being up. And we were talking about larger kinds of rotations. And this would be kind of a little insider rotation that apparently is out there.
Yeah, I don't really buy that for Nvidia correlating to Tesla. I buy that if you're looking at the broader like Mag 10, you see kind of a rotation of companies that become the exiled Mag 7 or Mag 10. You know, we literally went from Apple was like the laggard, for a few months, and now they're at all-time highs. And then Google was the big laggard, and now look at Google, it's been running. And then it was Microsoft, and now it's been Meta and Nvidia and Palantir have been the last 3, and now they're both starting to wake up, or all 3 are starting to wake up. Tesla's was a laggard for a while, right? These all these were at all time highs, and Tesla was lagging, and now Tesla's coming to the party. So I think it just rotates between them, and
Mm,
it's not that people are buying or selling from one to the other. I think it's more so that stocks trade in a certain way where they reach a new level, and then that level becomes a little frothy. It sells off a little bit, finds a state, a new place to hang out,
mhm, mhm.
consolidates, and then it can continue moving higher. And so I think that's what tends to happen, but they all have kind of their own cycle that aren't necessarily all in sync together. So just
Mhm.
because the market's going up doesn't mean that they're all going up. I think they all kind of have their own price levels. But um, yeah, so I mean that's just kind of my take. I'm not. I don't think there's quite a Tesla Nvidia thing because if you put Tesla, Nvidia, and Meta, I guarantee you they look pretty much identical. Like, or you could replace Nvidia with Meta, and I bet you they would look the same thing. And I
Interesting.
bet you could probably even do the same thing with Google and Nvidia, and see
Mhm.
how they. And people would be like, "Oh, it's the TPU and GPU thing." It's like, no, it's not. It's just Google has been just dormant,
Right.
and Nvidia hasn't been dormant, and now Nvidia's chilling out for a little bit, right? Because it's been on a crazy run, and Palantir had the same thing, right? So yeah, I just think it's what happens.
Okay. All right. In a July post, you said
Oh
And
God,
this
what did I say
post
in
is still
July?
pinned.
Stupid? Did I say something stupid again?
No, this is still pinned to your profile. You know this post well. You've
Oh,
left
that's
it up there all this time. And I want to know if it's still your position. You say that, uh-oh, did I not put it down? I think I didn't copy it. It
you want me
basically,
to say it?
oh, here we go. LLM hype. Here we go. LLM hype cycle is coming to an end. The ROI expected isn't going to be in LLMs, and that seems clear for now. Useful, yes, but overhyped. Commodity already, yes. All ROI will be in autonomy and humanoids, not LLMs. Mark my words. So 6 months later, 5 months later, is that still your position?
More like almost 2 years later.
Oh, oh, it says 2024, but it's still pinned to your
Yeah, I stand by that. And I
okay.
think we've seen that play out over the past almost 24 months. I think it's exactly what's played out. That LLMs have become commodity. I mean, just look what's happening. OpenAI starting to wobble. Anthropic is trying to really niche themselves into enterprise. You see XAI is, they're doing stuff, but it's not like Grok is necessarily revolutionary or taking market share from ChatGPT or from Anthropic. Everyone's kind of like starting to find their own lanes, and like I said, it's kind of becoming commoditized. In not to say that it's not still valuable and necessary, but it's it's become kind of. I think LLMs are becoming kind of table stake, and they're just everything else. Everything I've talked about over the last 2 to 3 years is that the same way servers used to be like the thing, and then servers became a commodity. No one cares about servers anymore, right? We went up the stack to CPUs, and then once CPUs got commoditized away through, especially because GPUs, then that became the thing. And then things went further up the stack to the application layer, et cetera, right? Like this is
Right.
what happens. And so I feel like or my whole opinion has been that LLMs are the new servers,
Hmm.
which is essentially just that bedrock, that first layer. And the value is not going to be in LLMs. The value is going to be either in what's built on top of the LLMs or the next iteration, the evolution of LLMs, which to me becomes a real world model, right? A neural net model that can understand text, but that's not the only domain. It also understands how to move through space in the real world and how to contextualize all the things that are going on. There's a lot in the real world that you have to contextualize. Just when you're walking down the sidewalk, you have to understand, hey, that car just ran through that red light. Hey, a red light means something. That's a homeless guy there. Hey, that lady's pushing a stroller with a baby. Hey, there's a dog that just ran off on his leash from his owner. Like, there's so much in this real world. Oh, we're going uphill now. Hey, there's a rock on the ground. Don't trip over that. Like hey, it's raining now. Like, there's so much more other than just text. So
No.
to me, we are just LLMs are the single cell organism. And I think that we're about to become a multi-cell organism with what's being built. And so to me, like I said, this is just the first building block, and everyone is going to really move beyond this. And so I think it's table stakes, but it's quickly gotten commoditized. And when everything gets quickly commoditized or ripped off or um, able to be distilled and copied, as what DeepSeek did, you, it just quickly goes for it. It's like we were talking about before we start recording, right? Easy come, easy go. So easy come because we can train on all this internet data. Guess what? Everyone can catch up real quickly. There's no moat. There's no proprietary knowledge there. It was already open source. It wasn't even OpenAI's groundbreaking uh, breakthrough. It was actually Google DeepMind's. It's just the guys at OpenAI understood what DeepMind figured out. The DeepMind didn't even realize what they figured out, right? So it's yeah. So that's why I keep saying, like, with autonomy, it's that next step beyond just text, It's an understanding of how to move through space. But autonomy, I think, will also get essentially replaced through humanoids, because humanoids will have to do more than just the basic understanding of how to move through physical space in a somewhat static domain, which is streets,
Right.
traffic lights, signs, right? Like, obviously, it's not static, it's ever changing on the roads, but in relation to real world, going beyond the streets, it is relatively static. So that's where I think the real, so that's how it stair steps to me.
Okay.
Does
So
that make sense?
yes. So I understand that, and I agree 100% that the money, the big money, is going to be on in autonomy. But what about the other intellectual things? And maybe this is where you differentiate. Things like medicine, things like material science. Go down the list of the things, the super complex, physics questions and things that can change our world in extremely dramatic ways. Do you see that as being something different than an LLM, or do you think that'll be commoditized too, or how do you view that?
Yeah, well, I think that's where it, so right now it's all right. I hope I don't lose people here.
Okay.
We've heard people talk about, and really, like, Andre Karpathy and Elon have said, one day in 20, 30 years from now, the the project to build out a neural net that can solve autonomy will be like a high school project, right? Down the road, that's what it'll be. Things will get so trivial, it will get so advanced that that'll be so trivial. I don't necessarily agree with them in that domain, but I think the spirit of what they're saying will pan out. And that's what I think will happen with LLMs. Or if they're right, what they're right on is way further down the road.
Mhm.
What I'm going to say, taking the spirit of that idea, is going to happen, I think, in the next 5, 10 years. So, what I think is to happen next 5, 10 years, what will become a high school project will be creating a really good LLM. I think that will become a high school project. What will become the standard, and what we'll see, I think, these big data centers start to morph to, will be individual companies like Merck, Pfizer, um, some material science company, whatever. They have their own data, their own research they're doing, their own proprietary data. And I think they will, and probably already are, starting to build from the ground up their own LLMs, their own neural nets, training, iterating, fine tuning, so that then they can use that to better do research rather than using a publicly sourced all this information. Sure, physics is pretty publicly sourced, right? But research and data that all these companies have, that's proprietary.
Right.
That is analogous to date or to the data that Tesla has with driving miles.
Right.
And so that becomes the proprietary information. That's what makes the models unique. And that's what will be able to be differentiating. So when I say LLMs will become commoditized, what I'm talking about is the Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club type LLMs, which is what we see right now with Anthropic, ChatGPT, XAI. What will become the Whole Foods version of LLM will become what Pfizer comes up with, what Merck comes up with, what some material science company comes up with, Tesla does with FSD, right? That's what I think things will morph to. And I think because everything will get commoditized, it'll be deflationary in a sense for all these companies to be able to do that. So does that make sense?
Yes.
That's how I think things go, and that's how I think real value will be built is when it comes to an LLM space.
So, taking a minute for a quasi commercial. Uh, so you had your most recent seminar with regard to helping people become better at dealing well, at least getting an understanding of what happens with options, and how did that go?
Yeah, so let me take off my engineer hat and let me put on my investor hat. Yeah, so I just, I asked Randy to let me mention this. I just want to thank everybody who attended our options crash course this past weekend on Saturday. Something I actually didn't tell any of them. I was sick the whole time, so I'm still drinking my miracle juice here. I didn't want to tell them that I was sick just because it wouldn't have been fair to them. But it was a long day. It actually went longer than normal because the questions were just so good, and we had people from Canada, from California, from Georgia, from Europe, from Australia, from Thailand. People from all over the world attended. It was it was really beautiful to meet everyone, to hear everyone, and because it was so good, and because the request and demand was so high, we are doing another options crash course January 31st. You can go to my profile. I have the link there, or just send me a DM and I'll send you the link to sign up. But that will be January 31st. But it was so good, Randy. I mean, these people are so smart. They picked up on topics so well. You saw the moments where people are like, "Oh man, that wow, I've never seen it this." Just like those aha moments that is the whole reason why I want to do this. To begin with, and what I love about it is the whole point of this isn't to give people fish; it's to teach them how to fish. And so now they can go run off, and if they choose to play with options in their portfolio, they have the correct understanding of how options work in their entirety. And so it was amazing. We had people who had never touched an option, didn't understand what an option was, to people who were extremely seasoned, and you could tell their expertise in options. So we had literally people from all spectrums, and I think everyone took away something unique from it. But it was, thanks for giving me the space here to thank
Sure.
everyone,
Sure.
because I sent DMs or replying to people who were thanking me for the course, but it's hard to get to everybody. And
Sure.
an email or a text isn't the same as just having a chance to sit here and say thank you to everyone who attended. You're all beautiful, you're all brilliant, and be smart, trade small, trade often, but just amazing. It was a pleasure.
All right, let's go back then to the general economy. Across the board today, specifically today, pundits are now saying that 2026 looks hot. The final turn of the screw was today's huge beat on the GDP. And basically, every program I listened to, everybody that was talking now I didn't listen to every single show on CNBC or on Fox, but everyone that I did listen to, if they didn't already think 2026 was going to be hot, they do now. So the worries that they still have are that labor is soft while business is good, and they don't like that dichotomy. What do you think about that problem?
Yeah, I think I've been on here saying this for what, 2 weeks now, that I think that we bottom on the joblessness, and we're going to start seeing unemployment. That's probably the wrong way, but I think we're going to start
Employment
seeing
go up.
more jobs. Yeah. Um, so I don't think it's really a big deal right now. I know there's a lot of put politics aside.
Mhm.
There's a lot of distrust in some of the numbers, and I can understand that between a government shutdown, some of the messiness. I think Q1 will be very interesting, especially since, as we know, January is when they make all the adjustments to numbers,
Right.
right? So, and for those who don't know, every year the goal is to always try to get better, right? To try to iterate on your process. And so January is normally where, if they're going to make any tweaks to how they do things, they do it in January. So January might look a little funky in either direction. I don't know which, but I think as we get from January through February, I think confidence will probably build. But I think a lot's also hanging on tariffs, Randy. So there's a lot of hopium out there, or not hopium. It. You know what it feels like? It feels like animal spirits are starting to come in. But I will say, just word of caution. Maybe I can't think of a better word, but Dave Lee does have a sentiment that he thinks that we probably start off a little rough to start the year, and then we end with a very good year. And I guess you could say if you're looking at it just from a year perspective, everyone's kind of in line with that. But Dave Lee is kind of the outlier there and saying that he thinks we kind of start off a little rocky. And Dave Lee's been right about every step of the way. So I kind of wouldn't, not saying he's right, not saying I agree with him, but it's just something to at least think about, especially if you're going to do anything, take any big bets right now. And obviously you're probably thinking Tesla, but just in general, if you're taking any big bets, maybe heed Dave Lee a little bit. The guy's
Always.
just been right all over and over and over. And
I know.
it's just hard to ignore that. But I will say, I still see like Tesla, for example, to me, it looks like it's got a date with 500 to 520 before it takes any kind of real breather. That's what it looks like to me.
Right.
But that could always change, So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but
I
yeah.
think you did fine. Okay, one of the other worries is that civil unrest will come if lower income folks don't participate. And just so that you know a little bit about my thinking on that, I don't think it'll come from the low income people. I think it'll come from the liberal white women that have been creating all the unrest for the last 2 years. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Um, yeah, I really do think, I I would say I've been boldly sticking my neck out there. I feel like I've done that a few times, and maybe one of these times I'm going to get caught because it's all panned out up to this point. Um, I feel like I'm on a good streak here. I call it my Dave Lee streak.
Okay.
But I've been telling you, Randy, that for instance, I think that we're going to see higher job numbers coming, which will probably lead to a moderating or a decrease in the unemployment number. And I've also been telling you that I believe housing this spring and summer will be robust, right? I've been telling you that I think, I called it way ahead of time that we're going to have, and
A soft spot.
yeah, and I think that we are, in fact, I see it already, to be honest. I see there's a lot going on in December. So I think that perpetuates or that continues to accelerate into the spring, summer. I think there's going to be a really good housing season. And I think that's going to be because rates are lower, home prices have come down. I think people are going to see more money in their pockets. I do think that they're not, I don't see costs necessarily coming down. I mean, you can pick little spots here like eggs or gas, right? You can pick your spots, but you still go out to a restaurant and, it's those prices haven't come down.
Shocking.
Yeah. But what they don't seem to be doing, at least in my opinion, it doesn't seem like they're increasing.
Right. Right.
It seems like if things can stay kind of static a little bit
Mhm.
and people can see or feel more money in their pockets just for a little bit,
Mhm.
and if they can refinance some loans because now they're more cost effective, if they get a little raise, if they get a better tax cut, better tax bracket, I think a lot of this starts to perpetuate itself. Um, and I think that helps those people at the lower end. I don't see a big pushback, especially with this administration. This administration, like Trump's legacy is this year. This is either Trump's last year as president,
Right.
or this is do or die for him.
Or
He either
the beginning of a
of the
generational change. Yes, right.
of the rest of his term. Yeah, exactly. So his whole term is based on this year, and really, when elections, August, September, October, when is it?
November.
November. Okay, so it's not until November. Okay, but still, um, everything's going to lead up to that. So he's got, call it 9 months before everything really starts. He's got 9 months to create a meaningful impact for people who feel like affordability is not there. And these people have a right to feel this way. because affordability is a huge issue, and it hasn't changed really much in the last year. Like, it's changed here and there, like we talk about oil and eggs, and you can pick and choose, but not in the way that people want Trump to take care of it. But in Trump, and when I say Trump, I mean his administration, in their defense, this doesn't happen overnight. It hasn't even been 1 year.
Right.
Well, yeah,
No,
it has. It hasn't.
not.
It hasn't even been 1 year,
January
right?
20.
So,
Yep.
so it's like, you guys tell me any big change, whether it's weight loss or just any change of habit you've had in your own life, paying off any debt that you have, whatever it is, like 1 year. Yeah, I'm sure you made progress, but probably you didn't get the job done. So you got to also give them some slack there. But his slack's going to run out. He's got 9 months here. He's got to make a big dent in it, and he knows that. They know that. And so I think that the fact that it's so clear. You can see that it's their priority now. That's it. This is everything for them right now, is this, and they know that. If there's one thing that Trump has always been really good about, is the 90-10.
Mm-hmm.
The 90-10, right? He sees, what do 90% of the people care about? Okay, let's tackle that. And this whole narrative of affordability is what the Democrats were using to go against the Republicans. That's been like kind of their new thing.
Mm-hmm.
And guess who immediately adopts it?
Right.
They do.
Right. Yes.
So I think that, I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what levers they're going to pull, but I'm convinced that in just the next 6 months, you're going to see things way more affordable. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I don't see them failing. I see this as we don't care about anything else anymore. This is priority number one. And I do think they're going to do it. I mean, it's like I said, if he doesn't do it, that's it. His term as president ends November.
Right. Yes. Okay. So let's look at the numbers real quick here. We've got Tesla down $3.12 for the day. And why is this not telling me what's actually happening in the after hours?
Well, that's
I'm looking at Robinhood, and it's only showing me what happened during the day, today. So something wrong here.
Well, we're up 10 cents right now.
Up 10 cents in the after hour. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So
that's what you got me for.
That's what
I'm here for.
I don't understand. This never happened to me.
As you fix your situation over there, for everybody, let me tell you guys right now, tomorrow is gonna be a half day.
Yeah.
So the stock market closed at 1 p.m. On Christmas Day, December 25th, it'll be closed the entire day. The stock market has to be open full day on Friday, because by law, stock market can't be closed more than 4 days in a row, or it cannot be closed 4 days in a row. And then we don't close again until New Year's Day.
Right.
So
yeah, full days, 4 out of the 5 days. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so the good news is the bonds have cooled off. They went crazy there, all the way up to 4.2 earlier today. We are back down to 4.159. And Larry thinks that we're finally going to go, starting in January, he thinks we finally go back into the threes. I'm not saying we are going into threes. I'm just saying that I hope they go into the threes. That would really help Trump and his administration, obviously. You have any thoughts on whether the bond market is finally going to give up in its longstanding effort to throw this economy into not help this economy get going?
Yeah, I mean, I hope long-term bonds start to come down. That's the problem, right?
10-year and 20-year,
yeah. So if we could start seeing those come down, that definitely opens up a lot more. In many ways, it creates more liquidity. It creates more of an acceleration of money movement, and more, debt taking, risk taking, all that, which perpetuates itself in a good, healthy way.
Well, and a big thing is that it opens up the housing market. And
exactly.
To your point, if we have a robust housing market, well, that then creates more durable goods sales. And that's where we've had the housing and durable goods has been the two laggards.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting because, you have, there's been this prevailing, I've thought a lot about this. There's like this thought, right? And I think let me just give me a second here. Okay. I got two things I want to get off my chest.
Okay. Okay.
We've talked a lot about this first one. So there's been this prevailing narrative by a lot of people who have gone through the last couple years of rate increases. And in their mind, for some reason, they have come to think that if rates come down, that means inflation is going to accelerate.
Right.
But that's not true, right? Like, and I understand why. I see how people can get to that
Right.
after experiencing what they've experienced since 2022. But raising the rates was just to solve a problem. Just because they're back down, that's not what creates inflation,
Right.
right? Excessive money printing, the acceleration of M2 supply, that is what creates inflation.
And low productivity.
Correct. So that's been one thought people keep having. I keep hearing it. The other one is that just because rates come down, that all of a sudden you're gonna have a rush of people buying houses, and that's gonna increase the home prices. And I get that logic. I do. But I don't think that's what happens, because rates can come down, and it's don't get me wrong, it's meaningful to the price, your monthly price on a house, but it's not meaningful enough to overcome the need to have a down payment for your escrow, down payment just for the house, to make sure you have the proper, debt to income ratio to buy the house. And I think as rates come down, you're not going to have, I don't think there's a lot of people standing there ready on deck to go once the rates come down. There are people there for sure, but I don't think it's as big of a flood as people think. So I don't think there's such a big demand there right now that all of a sudden home prices jump up. I don't think that's what happens. Instead, I think what happens, what's more likely to happen, Randy, is that it's a split. You have, of the people that are affluent enough and have enough savings that they've been sitting there like, if it just gets down to 5 or 5.5, I'm going to buy.
Right.
You got a handful of those, right? Let's say you got, just use these numbers. Say there's 100 people that are there, right? The population of 1,000, 100 of them actually have the money ready to go. The rest of the 900 people, they're probably just going to sit there and they're going to be like, oh, rates are down now, maybe we should start thinking about buying a house now. Okay, but of those 100 that have the capital ready to go, I think it's a 60-40, 50-50, 70-30, some split where some of them will say, okay, we're at 5 or 5.5, let's go ahead and buy. I think there's a good amount of them will also say, well, I don't want to go just yet. Rates keep coming down. Let's be a little more patient. We can get more house. Let's be a little more patient. So I think there's a distribution across that. So I don't think that rates coming down necessarily equate to house prices go up. And so I know what I just said there, it's not clean and it sounds a little messy, but I think that is the truth of how things come out or end up playing out, rather than this simple thought, rates come down, house prices go up.
Yeah, you are correct. And even if they would go up when you've got a down market already, it's going to take a while. So it might be that by the fall, housing prices are starting to get up as the inventory shrink. But right now, there's plenty of inventory and there's plenty of people sitting on the sidelines ready to put their homes on the market if they see even a little bit of an uptick in price. On the other side of the coin, this is the one you need to add to your list of the ways you're thinking about this. And this is this out migration. I've talked a lot about it on my show, but believe me, that sending 3 million people out of the country, which is 700,000 households.
You're not getting me on that one.
Huh?
Oh, you're not getting me on that one.
Okay, it has to. Okay, I've been studying this for about 30 years. What happens is there's all kinds of demographic issues, whether it's old people, young people, late formations of households. There's all these demographic issues, but this one is a huge demographic issue. In fact, the president brought it up the other day with Besson. They actually talked about it the other day. I was shocked, is that those people, some of them buy homes, not many, but some of them actually buy homes. But it's not the ones that are buying homes that I'm looking at. It's the ones that aren't
Renters.
going to be renting. Okay.
Yeah.
And because they're not renting, rents are coming down. When rents comes down, the marginal buyer says, I'm going to stay in the rental because this is a great price because he's marginal. He or she is marginal. They want to get a home, but it's like, well, man, why wouldn't I stay in rent when I've got this great deal right now? So the marginal rents are definitely the rents are coming down, and definitely that marginal buyer is probably going to, keep their jets cooled for a while, and that's going to increase the amount of inventory that's available. Obviously, what you want is more inventory if you're in the housing market. I mean, if you're wanting to buy.
Yeah. You don't it's when you say that. Something else that per perplexes me. I see all the time people that get upset about new, especially like in the city I live in, people get upset about new high rises being built, new apartments, new condos. And it kind of baffles me because and honestly, it's always the less affluent that complain about this. And this is not to pick on them, but it's like they don't get it. And all they ask for is affordable housing, affordable housing. And I don't think they understand
You have to
when you
build
build when you build a new high rise of luxury apartments, high-end apartments, you are creating affordable housing. Maybe not a like people who are, working at a fast food restaurant type affordable housing, but you are lowering the cost of apartments because what was considered the luxury apartment is now no longer because you have this new luxury apartment that got built.
right.
And so what happens is that those places become more affordable because these new places that are offering essentially the same price, why would I stay here when I can go there? And so the affluent people move. These other places, they kind of lower their price a little bit to keep demand and supply, right? And so that's how things move up. And guess what? There was that older one that's getting displaced a little bit by this new place that they were the new place at one point. So there's another one before that, right? So it stair steps. So you actually want newer places being built so you can have that happen. And not to mention you get you become it becomes more deflationary with more density because more density you can add more units. If you can add more units, guess what? There's more volume on the market, more supply. So it's like I get it. A lot of times when people say like, "Oh, we've got all these condos and these apartments paying all this money. Like, who's going to afford it?" It's like you're looking at the wrong place. You're not supposed to look there. You're looking. You're at the wrong dealership. You're supposed to go down and look at that dealership down there
So
because now that's available for you.
so now the problem is you're hoping that somehow we're going to be able to teach folks that don't have a basic understanding of economics about the marginal buyer. And I'm just hoping I can teach the people that are listening to the channel about the marginal buyer because most people have no clue that there's a
Well,
marginal buyer out there.
uh, honestly, I think I like talking about some of these topics, even if it doesn't resonate with anybody
Right?
that's listening. In my head, it's like if you could affect one person. So
Right,
maybe one
right,
person who normally doesn't watch your channel, Randy, they
right,
stuck around because of Tesla, and they're like, oh, they said something interesting about the markets, and like,
right,
oh, that guy's trading options on January 31st. That's interesting, and they stuck around to this point, and
right,
they heard this, and they're like,
right.
ah, I've never thought about it that way. Or maybe one of your listeners thinks, hey, that's a good way of putting it, Nick. I'm going to put that in my piggy bank. And so when my kid comes back from college and they're complaining about this, I can be like, well, no, actually, this is why capitalism is good. Because
Right.
instead of just building a low, poor built quality, affordable housing, now you get what was luxury 10 years
Yeah.
ago. And now
Afford-
that is the new affordable housing. Right. So I don't know. You just, and then also if I run into someone, this is good practice for me to flesh out my thoughts, my arguments, my point of view. And
Sure, sure.
you just hope you don't know where your impact's going to happen. So you
I
just at least
know,
try to
I
put it
know.
out there. If you put it out there, hopefully the universe receives it.
So oil prices staying under 60. Uh, I think they're going to stay under 60. I don't see any evidence that they're going to be drifting upward anytime soon. Lots and lots of oil out there. Natural gas is up strongly now in the pre-market, but still under $5. I'm sorry, under no, wait. I'm completely messing this one up. It's at 4.49 and it was at $4 earlier today. So it's gone up to 11% or something during the course of today. So that's not good. Was there a cold snap someplace in the country? Usually
I No, but I think it's been a pretty mild winter so far, huh?
it has, but actually California is getting, the whole West Coast is getting
Oh,
drenched right now. Washington and Oregon already got drenched. Now we're going to get it, and the temperatures are coming down. But I don't know if that's enough to move the gas market. I
yeah,
mean,
I was just in Boston last week and we got some I mean, we had some cold days there for sure, but uh you know, and it snowed 2 days, but like not crazy snow, just like perfect Christmas kind of
give
snow.
me to go.
Um but right after we left, like it was like high 40s, low 50s for them. So I feel like it's been a warmer I feel like it's been a warmer winter.
We always go over, but I have to ask you about
Yeah.
this, okay? So gold and silver, I've completely been wrong, 100%. Gold is now at
We know.
4,547. Silver is now at 72, $72. Now we know that silver has, industrial use. All right. But in both cases, I'm just going to ask you, I asked Grok about this today, and I couldn't remember what they call it, and I still don't remember what Grok said that they call it. But when you have something falling off a cliff and going down very rapidly, we call that capitulation. When you have something that's already up and then all of a sudden it shoots up like gold and silver are right now, after being way up and then they shoot up, there's the opposite of capitulation, but I don't remember what Grok told me. I'd have to go back and see if I could find it. But you
Exponential?
still, so what?
Exponential?
No, that's not it. But anyway, whatever it's called, but you've got the same situation is that when you've got this, it's kind of like all the FOMO has come in, all of the people that their barber told them they should buy gold have come in. All of that stuff is happening, and that you're usually looking at a top. Isn't that your experience?
Um,
Or is it your experience?
I don't know. It's different with something like gold and silver because it's not gold and silver is not just a supply demand thing, right?
Mhm.
They can go up for other reasons. So like if you were just talking about a stock, I would say yes, but I feel differently about gold and silver because they're used more as what Bitcoin was intended to be used
Right,
for, or it was up until I would say last like 3 years, right? Which was supposed to be like a defensive play against the U.S. debt,
right.
or just I guess
Or
fiat
against
in general.
inflation, or against whatever. Yes, right. Yeah.
So I think gold definitely got a new stimulus, if you will, with the fact that the Fed is in a way doing QE again.
Mhm.
Um, and I can see why that's going up, right? And just the inherent risk there is. And truthfully, I believe that I feel like every country is buying more gold right now or building reserves. I think we are. I- If China's doing it, we're doing it. Like I'm convinced, especially with a president like Trump, he's buying gold. At least that's my take. I have no
Just
proof
just
of
to
this.
decorate, just to decorate the Oval Office.
Exactly, exactly. Um, but and you can see, I mean, just look at Costco, right? Costco keeps
Yeah,
like
selling.
they're selling gold like crazy. So it's different because of the asset class it is. You know what I'm saying?
I, I
So
I I totally understand it's a different asset class. I'm going to stick by my theory, though. I think no, I don't know what that top is, but I do believe there's going to come a point at which the marginal buyer runs out of money to buy gold, or the
well,
FOMO,
but
or the FOMO, or the FOMO buyer says, "Hey, I made a lot of money. Let me take it out of here."
but the question's not when will the Randy or Nick or Susan or Sherry stop buying gold. The question is, when will the PCR stop buying gold? When the USA stop buying gold? When
I
will
agree.
Switzerland stop buying gold?
I agree with you in part, but what I'm saying is that just like we just talked about with housing, you've got that underlying group that's been buying it for all year. That's why it went up to 4,400, 4,300, that underlying group. But now I think you've got piling on by retail customers who don't know what they're doing or who have decided to move some of their Nvidia into gold right now because it's the latest thing that you can jump on. And those people, when they get out, that's still a marginal loss. And when you start to see the marginal loss, it tends to also create more of their friends going, oh, I better get out. It's going down now.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think what you're talking about is more behavior, like what we've seen with Bitcoin, or more so MicroStrategy.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think, we'll see. I just think gold's way more stable than that.
All right. So to finish it off here, speaking of Bitcoin, down 476 today at 87,688. This is going to be a big miss for Tom Lee. So he's right a lot. This is going to be a
Yeah.
big miss
What do you
for
say? 150 is what he thought? Or 200?
150,000. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He and Kathy are both going to be way off of this one.
Well,
And
you want to know something? I've got some friends that are really, really big Bitcoin investors.
yeah, yeah,
And October of last year,
yeah.
I
October.
asked them of last year,
Yeah.
I asked them, at what point would you say that like Bitcoin isn't doing what you expected to do, or it's not failed you, but kind of failed you?
Yeah.
And especially this was like right after the halving, right? Because I was like,
Right.
having happened in April of last year, and I was like, well, it's been 6 months, and we're not really doing much. And mind you, I felt kind of stupid like November and December and January. It's like, oh, all right, I guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
But here we are, literally a little bit past that year later, and we're at 87,000, and I have not said a word to them about it. I haven't brought it up. So I'm just saying I'm a pretty good friend, because I could easily have rubbed this in their face, especially with Tesla near all-time highs.
Right.
But anyways, jokes aside, just because they'll never watch this, but I love them. They're amazing friends, and they are big Tesla investors anyways. And they all drive Teslas and have
There you go.
Cybertruck.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's my little joke. But yeah, Bitcoin's really interesting here. I do think that we're probably gonna see Bitcoin start to rebound. Personally, I think a lot. Like, look, Bitcoin's it's a hell of a volatile asset,
Right.
and everything that's happened up to this point isn't out of the ordinary for Bitcoin. And even if you look at it like I don't know, like a weekly chart of it, it doesn't look like it's in free fall or anything. It looks
Yeah.
like a normal up, pull back
Yeah.
kind of chart.
Isn't it actually down for the year?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think so.
Probably.
I think it's down for the year, which
But
would only be the second time that's happened since its inception.
yeah, but it's funny. I was on with Herbert last week, and I feel like you have to be I feel like you have to be a little careful, because we were talking about Ford and GM, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were talking about like how Tesla's done the last 3 months versus them. I'm like, okay, well, look at Tesla 1 year versus Ford for 1 year, or
Yeah.
GM for 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Ford and GM are doing better than Tesla 1 year.
Mm.
You know,
Yes. And
so
of course, what happens on January 1st to December 31st is just meaningless. Those dates have nothing to do with anything. It's a stupid way to judge, but that's how we do it.
no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you can, like, everyone can look at the year to date
Yeah.
and be like, oh, look, Tesla's up 28%.
Yeah.
Okay, but look at the last 1 year, and
Right.
oh, Tesla's only up 12%.
Right.
That's worse than S&P 500. So it's like, I hear when people talk about this, but it's also, we don't want to be as bad as everyone else has been to us, And
Right.
like, it all depends on the window.
Yes.
If I look at 5 years on Tesla, it looks way better. If I look at the last 3 years, like, oh, it's not that
Isn't it
great,
so good?
really. So yeah, so it's like if I look at 5 years, it's up 120%.
Right. Right.
So it just depends. But I think Bitcoin, again, I'm not a Bitcoin guy. I love following it. I think it's
Mhm, mhm,
extremely interesting to
mhm,
watch
mhm,
what's
mhm.
happening with it. It's you can't and the MicroStrategy stuff with Sailor, man, is that entertaining.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but it's just not something I'm willing to touch or be involved with. I just see no need. I like equities. I like options.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like it's why I also don't like gold. I don't like investing in something where it's how can I have a point of view of what can happen and when? Even though Tesla's always late, Elon's always late, at least I can have a point of view of when something might happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
With something like Bitcoin or gold, what am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
Eventually?
Or what's happening in the world today that might be impacting as opposed to what the product is. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. I'm totally with you. On the equities, we've got everything is in the green with the Dow up 0.16, the S&P up 0.46, and the Nasdaq up 0.57. So the Santa Claus rally might continue tomorrow.
I will say, um, for those who don't know, his historically, the Santa Claus rally starts yesterday.
Oh, interesting.
Historically, yesterday's the day it actually starts.
That's
Not saying and like what I mean is like not like, oh, this is just a arbitrary day.
right.
Well, I'm saying if there's a Santa Claus rally, it normally begins yesterday.
I see. Okay.
So like this is like based on data. So interesting fun fact.
Yep, yep.
So
Okay. All right. So I want to tell anybody who's still listening, Jeff Lutz will be on later tonight. And so you may want to I probably won't run it until about 8:15 because we've been running late on this particular show for all kinds of reasons, not just because Nick and I can never get done in an hour. I don't know what happens.
it's because it's gonna be the number one rated. Everyone's gonna like. Everyone's gonna subscribe. Everyone's gonna stay to the end. Everyone's gonna forward it to their friends and say they got to listen to this.
Just
And
for that,
everyone,
just for the
yeah,
discussion on crypto alone.
exactly. And everybody, if you're interested on the options crash course, DM me or go to my X handle and sign up because the seats are limited. Because a lot of people were on the wait list from the last time. So just reach out quickly before. It's not me trying to like create demand. So we were backlogged. I had a wait list. So just want to let everyone know.
Okay, and then finally, I want to say, Nicholas Gibbs, it's been great having you on, and Merry Christmas to you and your family, to your new little baby who's going to experience her first Christmas, and
His.
his. I'm the one that has a new baby granddaughter. You have the baby. Okay. Anyway, it's
Thank
been
you.
yes, all
Merry
right,
Christmas, everybody, and Happy Hanukkah.
and Merry Christmas. And isn't Hanukkah over now?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Merry Christmas Hanukkah.
There you go. There you go. And it's been great talking to you.